This video is brought to you by Sailrite. In this video, we're going to be showing you how to make a custom catamaran trampoline. This process is not very difficult, but it is a little bit labor intensive. Let's get started and show you how it's done. Sailrite sells a variety of trampoline materials. Here we're using the trampoline mesh black, which is 74 inches wide. Deb's measuring on the fabric and marking it to the appropriate size with this grease pencil. This material cuts beautifully with a pair of scissors. To provide for the reinforcement for the grommet installation all around the perimeter, we're going to use a Shelterite vinyl material. We're marking on the Shelterite material 5 inches over, and we're going to cut 5-inch wide strips. These strips will be folded onto the edge of our trampoline. This Shelterite material will be folded in half. Some customers opt for a wider strip for more reinforcing. Some will cut it to 6 or 7 inches. We've cut it to 5 inches. Now we're folding it in half and creasing it with a heavy object. This fabric does not crease well, but this does create enough of a crease that we can easily slip the fabric in between the fold. Now we're applying a double-sided seam stick to both sides of the Shelterite material. And notice this is the inside. We typically like to have the doll side facing out. The inside is a little bit shinier. Now we're going to take our Tramp material and sandwich it between the fold. When we fold it in half, it'll equal 2.5 inches. Double-sided tape is great because you can baste everything in place prior to sewing. This helps to hold hems, seams, and also tapes that are folded onto the edge of your application so they do not move. If you're not happy with how it's resting, you can reapply it. Peel it up and reapply it until you've got it exactly where you want it. Now we'll peel off the transfer paper on the opposite side and fold it over top of the trampoline material. Deb starts in the center and bastes out. That keeps wrinkles out of the material. Once one side is basted, she'll go to the other side, starting at the center, and baste out. We're going to be using the Sailrite Big and Tall sewing machine, and we're using Tanara thread. We did a little reversing at the beginning, and we sew about 1/8 inch away from the raw edge of the Shelterite tape, and we reverse at the end as well. Now we're also going to place a stitch very close to the folded edge, about 1/8 inch away from that edge. Regarding thread choices, V92 polyester is a UV resistant thread but will eventually rot in high UV concentrated areas. Anti-wick V92 has a wax coating which helps prevent water from wicking into needle holes and also provides longer UV resistance. Tanara and Helios are lifetime threads and will not rot or change colors. They are expensive and harder to sew with. Now we'll take another strip of the Shelterite material, crease it, place double-sided tape on it, and baste it on the next edge of the tarp. And here we baste it right over top of that previous tape that was sewn on the opposite edge. There's no need to worry about the edges coming unraveled. This material can just be cut with scissors, and there's no reason to create a hem here at the end. Just cut it flush. Deb's going to sew this small end closed, and she's also going to sew down the 2 legs of the length of the Shelterite material with the Sailrite Big and Tall sewing machine. Follow this procedure for the entire perimeter of your trampoline. This custom catamaran trampoline requires a slit to be made to allow for rigging to exit the tramp. Deb is measuring to ensure that the slit is positioned correctly on the tramp. Once she's happy with the position of the slit, she's going to cut it with scissors. Now there's a slit to allow the rigging to come through and a hole in the center for the rigging to exit from the tramp. Again, we'll use that Shelterite vinyl material and cut 5-inch strips for edging around the slit and also the opening near the center.
This one's going to just fold over to here, like this.
She'll cut this tape to size so that it's flush with the slit. Then she'll cut a second strip exactly the same as the first so that it can be used on the opposite side. We'll use that same shelter-right tape to protect the edges of the hole.
Come down probably, we're making this 2.5 inches, so I'm just kind of going by the width of this extra.
She's cut the tape to length. Now she'll fold it in half and she'll cut along the fold all the way to the opening of the hole.
Take your scissors, cut your fold right up to where your cutout is, and come back to this side and do the same thing. Like so. This will fit right inside. Get your seam stick off. Lift this up. Put your slits over that. Slit over that. So we're going to want to do one more, same size. We'll just lay that down. Put one for the other side. Out of the way.
Now she'll baste it in place. And we'll follow that same procedure for the opposite side. Here at the top, we'll follow that same procedure yet again.
So that you're cutting at the length of these.
As she bastes this one to the top of the opening, Deb's decided that she's going to fold the edges back. That is just a preference, not necessarily a requirement. It does give a little bit more of a finished look, but it's a little bit more labor intensive.
Okay, and just take these here and just kind of fold them just above your seam stick. Stick them in there. Just bring that edge down. Bring your fold to the corner. And we're going to stitch that down. I'm not in there where I want him yet. There we go. And the same thing on this side. Works out a little bit better over here.
So you can opt to do this, or you can just leave it flat as it was. It's your choice.
Okay.
Next, we'll concentrate on covering the slit opening with the shelter-right tape.
The Tramp.
Here at the opening, she's decided to fold back that corner as well, which is optional.
Fold in. Don't want it. Bring that over.
Follow that same procedure for the opposite side of the slit. Once it's down, all we need to do is turn the tramp over and tuck the corners as we did on the previous side. If you've chosen not to tuck the corners, you don't need to do this step. It is important to be sure that as you tuck each one of these edges that they're exactly the same as they are on the underside. Deb's being careful to check to make sure that it's exactly the same on the top side as it is on the bottom side, because she's going to be sewing along those edges. All that's left now is to sew around the perimeter. We'll start here at the bottom and sew up this leg. Once we get to the cutout opening, we'll do a little bit of reversing. We'll bury the needle. We'll lift the foot of the Sailrite Big and Tall sewing machine, rotate the fabric around with the needle buried. That keeps us in our appropriate position. We'll lower the foot and we'll continue to sew. We're going to sew the inside perimeter of the cutout right now. So again, Deb will bury the needle. She'll lift her foot. She'll roll the fabric around and she'll just sew down the other leg as well. We'll do that all around the perimeter. Alright, once that's done, we'll sew around the outer perimeter. First, she's going to finish the end pieces at the bottom edge.
Then we'll start around the outside here.
When she gets to the opening, she's going to sew across those tucks that she made earlier. So these little angles will be sewing down. She's going to sew all the way to the corner, and then she'll reverse back to where she began and sew the outer perimeter.
Back up all the way. Just turn around.
Because the Sailrite Big and Tall Sewing Machine comes with the MCSER power system with the Power Plus wheel, you get optimal slow speed control. Notice here, this large industrial sewing machine does not take off on us. We can do one stitch at a time so that we can get precise sewing. All that's left is to install grommets. These grommets will be used to lace the trampoline onto the boat. We're using a number 4 hole cutter here with the premium cutting block on the bottom side to prevent damage to the hole cutter. We've installed most of the grommets all around the perimeter. We're using number 4 nickel-plated brass Spur grommets. We've placed a grommet onto the die set. This is the male portion of the grommet. Then place the female portion of the grommet, the one with teeth on top. Place the anvil on and give it a few blows with a dead blow mallet or a heavy mallet. And that sets the grommet perfectly in the reinforced edging. Grommets for lacing on trampolines are typically placed anywhere from 4 inches to 12 inches depending on the application. Sailrite recommends that a number 4 spur grommet be used or a number 5 spur grommet be used for trampoline lacing. Nothing smaller should typically be chosen. This custom Catamaran trampoline is now complete. Don't go away, the material list is coming up next. And now we'll display the material lists and tools that were used to build this custom Catamaran trampoline. There are a variety of styles of trampoline mesh and also different colors of Shelterite material. Be sure to visit Sailrite.com for more choices. For more free videos like this, check out the Sailrite website or subscribe to the Sailrite YouTube channel today. It's your loyal patronage to Sailrite that makes these free videos possible. Thanks for your support.